Hello everyone, welcome again. I just finished OCS Crimea Conquest and Liberation, the 5.3 mini scenario 1, eviction notice, Operation Trappenjagd, some special scenario rules, scenario boundaries, Access units begin the scenario field for the movement phase only. There are no reinforcements, replacements, additional SP or rebuilds. Air units deployed outside of the scenario boundaries refit for free. And then there was the Access player may add a +2 die roll modifier to one combat die roll during turn 1 or +1 to any one combat from turn 2 onwards. If the defender is in the coastal hex, that is in the southern coastal hex, for only one combat per turn. This represents the disruptive effect produced by an Axis amphibious landing just behind the Soviet front line, etc. Victory conditions were Axis decisive victory, no Soviet units remain on the Kerch Peninsula, portion of Crimea east of 34.xx. Axis substantial victory, no Soviet units on the Kerch Peninsula at scenario end can make trace supply to Kerch, except the units actually in F45.10, and that is the town of Kerch itself. It was a Soviet victory because of several reasons. You only get the Germans only get 4 SP for the whole four turns, so no additional SP. 7 SP, sorry, and the Russians get only 4 SP. So it's a little puzzle to solve. What to do? It's maybe not a very good starting scenario. It is short, but you have to deal with the supply problem. So there were several things with bad die rolls, I think. A lot of bad die rolls for the Germans. And also, what I also always forget is, in disorganized mode, you can switch between movement and combat mode. And I made myself a little bit harder. I also did it for the Russians, so it's not a big deal. I put all the supply in here, so the scenario boundaries were 28xx, east of hex 28xx, so that is here, and south of hex row xx.15, and that is there. And then what I don't understand is this part for at the Russian side was also in place, so the Russians could not refit for free. I thought that was a little bit strange. I think this is the play area, and this was outside of the boundary, and so the Germans could refit their planes for free. That was a thing for the Russians. So what also the off scenario map boundary, the off map boundary, the off map how do you say it? The outside of play area. You can use that for logistics. So what you could do is save some SP and put it, for instance, a truck here with 1 SP, and you have 2 wagon points. You could saved 3 SP for later on use for a refuel the 22nd Panzer or the other tank and mechanized units, also for the Russians maybe, and put some SP in here. But that would mean you have to, every turn you have to transfer a certain amount of SP to the peninsula. That is a consideration that I thought of later on. The Germans were cutting off the Russians finally in the last turn. This was the situation in the last German turn. I did not play the Soviet turn because it was already clear that the Soviets would win. So the Italian came in and they broke through because those units had internal supplies left to attack. But it was too late. I did not have any reserves left because the Italians moved in the exploitation phase. And so that was the last in reserve that I had, so I could not further exploit it. These units, I did not have any fuel for them, and they otherwise when you flew them up and they could maybe cut off units off. So I almost did cut off this part. There are a lot of casualties with the Russians, as you can see. So a couple of German units that suffered. Yeah, it is a challenging scenario. I have to play it again. I don't know if I do it the right way. Maybe I'll start with the other scenario, mini scenario 2, Operation Sturving, Sturge and Catch. That is 10 turns. So this was the after action report of this scenario. Hope you like it. Till next time. Talk to you soon. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Take care. Keep on gaming.